Well, what really made this image pop was when we put the blue down, right? So, you know, we get this little thing here, we don't care about that. That's what we call patina. That's like beautiful. Like this background here, she sold this, I think this, she sold it 4 times. I'm on my 6th printing of this one. Actually 7th, 6 and 7. She's sold them immediately, and this one is a real example of a nice tricolor. Another example of a nice tricolor.
Can I ask how much she sells them for?
She sells them for, I think, 1,200 matted like that.
Are these gum, or are they gum on?
These are, most of these are gum overs, but some of them are gum only. Like I think that's a gum only, this is a gum only, this is a gum over. So, you know.
How many colors of gum?
This would have been 3 colors of gum. I would have always used 3 colors on these.
And when you do 3 colors, are you creating a shadow, a highlight?
No. We did shadow highlight this weekend because I wanted to keep it just to a duotone. And I like to do a tritone, we would not have gotten there today. We would have still all been on our 2nd layer.
No, I appreciate that. I'm just interested in technique, like the way Christina teaches it, and I'm sorry if I keep bringing it up. She does a CMYK channel separation. So would that be the approach you use?
That's the way I do it. I do a CMYK channel, but I don't use the K. I drop the K and I make a platinum, or I make a negative from the
For platinum, yeah.
Okay, but what I do different from what she does, and I know she's not doing this, is I suck out the color in areas to add the color back in.
Yeah.
And I've never heard of anybody doing that, and it's a really nice method to suck out the color where you need the color. This one probably was a mistake until you finally added the cyan on. And then once the cyan came in, the water started looking like water, you know. So it's kind of like you never give up, right? You try never to give up.
I really like this one.
Which one?
This one.
This one, yeah.
Yeah.
And this one is not as good as the first one. The first one is a lot more bluer than that.
Yeah.
Right? It has a much more, like it almost looks like you could, it almost looks like the building itself, right? This one's got a bit of a yellow cast overall. So the problem with tricolor is once you get into your 3rd or 4th layer, adding a 5th or 6th layer is very difficult. So this is why that Gonzalez guy,
Yeah.
I don't know how the hell he's doing 11 layers.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how he's doing it.
Another thing I'll also say is I don't know why.
Well, no, the work is quite beautiful.
Oh, no, I'm not
But
disagreeing.
it's quite beautiful, but how he's keeping the paper in register through 11 layers is beyond belief, right?
Because they look like printed photographs,
These
like
ones?
inkjets.
What, these ones or his?
No, he was talking about a gum printer that he and I were discussing yesterday.
What's his name?
Tony Gonzalez.
Gonzalez.
But his prints are quite lovely, right? But now, I will say this, when you start getting into female form, and its skin tone, and you can soften, it looks good, it looks beautiful. So you'd have to see the physical prints, right?
Yeah.
Because in a magazine, we can correct anything, right? Like we can make anything look good. I'm just saying,
No, I
when you start working it with a really subjective subject matter and making them soft, and then, you know, you can hide a lot of mistakes. Here we're, you know, the mistake here is that magenta at the bottom of the road, and the green isn't realistic, but Monica likes this one a lot.
that's Angkor Wat, isn't it?
That's Angkor Wat, yeah.
But the magenta, I mean, there is brown sand where that is.
It is brown sand, it is reddish sand, it is,
Yeah.
but not that red.
Probably.
That's a bit over the top. But once again, you know, we're not trying to mimic exact reproductions. So this one here is actually one of my, there's another one that we made. That's one of my favorite prints of all time. Because there's just the hint of yellow. It's so low saturation that I really love this one, right? I'm not happy with platinum palladiums. They're a bit flat. This one here is kind of nice. I was pissed off at first because it looked yellow until we realized the mountain range is called the Yellow Mountain Range, right? It is this color, right? So so this is in China, so this one sold a couple of times, this one here. And this one, if you look at this one, has a beautiful, beautiful gray scale on the rocks. Like that's new, that rock looks real, that's beautiful rock. And then the green, yellow-green mountains above. Pass that around, huh?
Well, there's that one that one looks like it's got a little bit of magenta
It
in
does.
it to me.
And it's got a little bit, see how the magenta, it's got, see up in here?
Yeah.
It's gone wonky.
Yeah,
It's gone, like, it almost reminds me that I walk into Angkor Wat and that's what I see in the early morning, just the hint of slime back in here and, you know, the trees are shimmering a bit. This is actually quite a lovely rendition of this building. I think there's another one that's even nicer, that is,
There was one that wasn't as washed out as this.
yeah, it was a bit more, and it was quite, but it sold, like, she sold 18 of these. Okay, so,
All through this gallery.
yeah, I mean, she sold them herself, right? Like, this gallery's a rental gallery.
Yeah.
But she sold 18, so, you know, she made over $18,000, but she paid a lot more to have it done, okay? So it's gonna take her a couple of years. So the way she works is she makes a print, we scan it, and puts it up for sale. And then if it sells, then I make a second print. So she doesn't have me make 10 or 20, like we did the initial, there was 60 of these. 60 in total, 65. And we always have one ready to go for her. So like a couple of them sold 2 or 3 times. That sold, like almost, these 2 haven't sold. But anyways, the idea is that they're permanent prints.
What's the mat size, 16 by 20?
The mat is 2024 with a 12 by whatever, it's oversized. Well, some of them are 1620, no, they're all 1620 mats with a 9 by 13 window. So, another thing, we've been looking at all these prints downstairs unmatted. When Tanya and Len and John mat the ones they've got, they're gonna freak out. They're gonna be beautiful. Those prints are gonna be like jewels. So that's, you know, and it's not an excuse, right? So it's, you know, it's kind of like, well, you have to get them matted before they start looking beautiful. The same with solarizations. Anything looks better once it's presented well. But I would not show those ugly rebates, all that crap around. I would not show that. If I was probably thinking better, I'd get red ruby lith and I'd put a red ruby around, but then you have to have that registered 4 times. And one of the things in printmaking is if you make the simple things hard, like cleaning a border, and you forget about what's going on in the middle, you could end up with a lot of trouble. You never, so I always work from the inside out, right? And I don't worry I never worry about something like that. That certainly doesn't bother me.
From a distance, it looks like the sky.
It looks like the sky and it looks intentional, but it's not. It's just a brush mark. I would never, ever bounce that print for that reason. Some would. People that are all hyped up about perfect inkjet prints, maybe they'd get themselves freaked up about that, but that's not really what we're doing. So, if you're gonna do it at home, you need a simple darkroom. But you notice that we pretty well worked in that room back there. So you saw that there was no real sophistication in darkroom sinks. There was no real, I need the negative focus and all that crap. You didn't have to worry about that. You weren't See it, Kev? You weren't really worrying about, it was just a physical thing, right? But a simple sink, any woodworker in the world can make that sink downstairs for Home Depot, plus plywood, plus West, it's boat paint. It's called West System, and it's clear, goes on in 2 coats, and the sink's good. So, sink is easy. The water temperature is just a faucet. It doesn't have to be, and you notice we use great big long red garden hoses. There's a reason for that. You can walk on those hoses, you can drag them around, and you can move them around. They're very, very versatile, right? And we have the clamps to hose them off, or we just close them and walk to the next thing, open them up. You know, it's simple. So the hardest part is that plate burner. But you could definitely have a bank of tubes, and there's all kinds of places that can show you how to make them. And then you can slip a contact frame underneath with a timer on. So we could have gone by timer. The only thing is you'd have to leave the timer on all the time. The light's on all day long, right? So, anybody gonna be gum printers down the road?
I'd love to.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of plans in that for the light boxes as well.
Yeah.
Very nice.
I've considered, like I have Paulette will be with me for the rest of my life.
What do you call that?
Let me zoom over there. Can you do that again?
Yeah, so I'm dying early, I think. But we are building
Seriously,
it.
he just tripped down the stairs.
I don't know how. So, we've built the dark room so that Paulette can come here at any time. There's a guy by the name of Jacob that's coming in at 5 o'clock. He's in the middle of a very long-term project. Our next dark room, I am considering this, but I will only consider it with healthy workers to have a space where you come in where all the equipment's there. But you'll pay a monthly fee, and it'll be a minimum 3-month rental. So the scanners I have, Dolores, does anybody know Dolores from Quick? She's resurrecting a Don Newland's project. So Camellia and Rita are down in my basement every day scanning for 3 months. And we're okay with that. So the fact that you've taken this course, I haven't seen anybody here that couldn't do it. Okay, so right away you all qualify. So let's say down the road we keep on doing 1 or 2 of this. There will be people around that say, I want to book Bob's place for 3 months. And I'll say to you, okay, it's $500 a month, and you got 3 months, go at it. And then around the other people there, you just come in and work. You're not going to work 3 months straight, but you'll come in and do your projects and get them done. So I've been thinking about that. I just want to see how far people get with Gallery 44, how people get with their own dark rooms, but I don't want to be in a position in 5 years where I'm making film for people, but there's no place for them to print. So I may make a singular room for this specific type of process, where you come down, spend a week, print. You know, it may not be a 3-month contract, I don't know what it will be, but I may just make it so that you come in and out, and you're gone, right? And as long as you're clean and, you know, so that's my thinking of long term. So Paulette will always be around as a resource,
Forever.
forever, ever and ever. But it's,
Shoot me.
Unless it's
shoot me down.
Just kill me. For the love of humanity.
Yeah. But I don't know if Gallery 44 is gonna do the right thing. I think they will, but I'm not sure yet. And I think Mark hit it on the head when he said to me, he kind of whispered, and he says, I think there's so many rules down there that they won't allow us to logically do all this, right? People will get freaked out. So that may happen, you know? And that's probably got to do with the ammonium dichromate, right? So I'm gonna put my good friend Len and his brother on that mission, not only to explain it, but figure out how we can dispose of it properly, right? And once that's done, then there's no fear. right? So there may be jugs of ammonium dichromate, you know, that go to a way of, you know, but I'll throw that on Len's shoulder.
He was involved in disposing of chemicals where professors had walked away from a lab and the chemicals were unidentified.
Wow.
And so he was involved in disposing of those sort of stuff, so.
Yeah, so
He's good at that.
we have, like, Christina Anderson is a friend of mine that Frank knows. She's a friend of mine. I've met her. I've had dinner with her many times. She was taught by my friend Sam Wang out of Clemson University. So I've met with Sam and so there are a lot of really good people connected in this whole group because we're all doing it. Nobody really cares about one's better or not. Nobody cares that way. There's no competition really. But there is a real good group of people out there and some really smart people. But I think one of the big questions would be this ammonium dichromate disposal in a large city. You won't have that problem because nobody will know what the hell you're doing. But then one day somebody said, did you hear about that woman in the basement making the bombs? Right? And then, yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you're gonna have to come up with the solution yourself, right,
Yeah.
in your darkroom, right?
So that stuff doesn't go down the drain that we
Well,
just,
It does now?
Ammonium dichromate, it can. I called the city of Toronto.
Mhm.
They can work with it. And because it's because, like, we're kind of topping out of what we can do for putting it down the drain, quite honestly. Like,
Mhm.
Well, we don't know what we're topping out at, I'm just telling you, the
But-
way Murphy's Law,
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
gonna come at us,
Quite
right?
honestly, knowing, like, having worked enough with ammonium dichromate, we are, like, using anywhere from a 26 to 30% solution. That is as,
Oh, were you working with ammonium dichromate?
Yeah.
We're working with a 10%.
oh, okay,
It's
but
10%.
at 26%, the particles fall out of the water. Like, they fall out really quite readily. So
Mhm.
what essentially happens is that you can leave the residual ammonium dichromate in a bucket and will all fall to the bottom.
Oh,